So this weekend, a lot has happened this week. Monday morning, my wife's phone rang, and it was her. It was the women within our diaconate group that was sending a message that Pope Francis has passed away. And this was, I don't know, maybe 6 o'clock or so in the morning. Yes, I was still asleep. Just about ready to wake up. And I told her, I had a feeling that the Pope was going to pass. Not on Easter, but after Easter. Not knowing when, but just it. I didn't even get to see his procession through St. Peter's Basilica. Just of all the activities. So we'll honor Pope Francis here today in our Mass. For today we celebrate the second Sunday of Easter, which has been termed Divine Mercy Sunday. And it's somewhat fitting in that one of the terms that is described about Pope Francis is that he was the Pope of Mercy. Those who were on the fringe of society that he would go visit. So in May 2000, 5 days after the canonization of St. Faustina, the Vatican decreed that the second Sunday of Easter, this Sunday, would henceforth be known as Divine Mercy Sunday. In December of 2018, I was introduced to St. Faustina on a spiritual way. Not in a direct physical interaction, although you could probably say that, the Spirit working within you, but in a most blessed and spiritual way. It was December of 2018 that my father went home. He went home to the Lord. As in many circumstances surrounding his death, there comes a point during his time that there's this look that it's time to notify the family that the end is near. So in that last week of hospice, we reached out to my brother Matt, who lives in Texas. And so my brother Matt came, and you could tell when he arrived, now he wasn't there during the months leading up to it, because we had to take Father to and from the hospital. It was difficult. But you could tell he had this anxious look on his face. And when he came with a mission. He came with a mission to pray. To pray with Dad, to pray with Mom, and to pray with us. I still remember that look that he had, that anxious look. That anxious look of being removed from that daily watch that we all were in. So almost without pause, he greeted us and immediately went to Dad. And he asked Dad if he'd like to pray with us. And Dad, with his every ounce of energy that he had and cognitive ability, he shook his head. He shook his head and said yes. So with a brief biography, my brother Matt did a brief biography of St. Faustina. And then he hooked up his Bluetooth speaker and put it next to Dad's ear, and there we were as a family, hand in hand, in a circle, praying. Praying and singing the Divine Mercy Chaplet. And yes, it was beautiful. Yes, there were tears. There were tears, and there was sorrow. But all I can tell you is that there was a certain energy. There was a certain glow that was in that room. that was coming from my Father. Death was conquered. You could literally feel the divine mercy of our Lord Jesus Christ in that room. There was a spiritual healing. There was a divine love. There was a joy. There was a joy in that hospital. The Chaplet of Divine Mercy was a gift given to St. Faustina. It was a gift given to St. Faustina by Jesus with this promise: encourage souls to say the chaplet which I have given you, the Chaplet of Divine Mercy. Whoever will recite it will receive great mercy at the hour of death. Even if there were a sinner most hardened, if he were to recite this chaplet only once, he would receive the grace of my infinite mercy. I desire that the whole world know my infinite mercy. I can only imagine what it was like in that upper room with those apostles that day. The divine mercy of our Lord Jesus Christ appearing in that upper room and locked doors to those apostles. Doors were locked. Then you had doubting Thomas, who wouldn't believe until he saw. Where's our upper room? Where are we in our belief? Maybe it's in our car ride to work. Maybe it's in our home because someone has passed. Maybe it's at work. Maybe it's in a hospital room. Maybe it's on your route, whatever it may be that you do for a living, where you do doubt. You wonder, was this all just a dream? But it is this gospel message that reveals that God is with us. God is with you and God is with me. The closest thing that I could kind of come to when I heard of the passing of Pope Francis is, you remember back in March of 2020, if you remember back then, the coronavirus was quite rapid. And Pope Francis did an Orbe et Orbe over the the pandemic, the coronavirus, to come to an end. And I don't know if you remember that. I saved it on my Facebook. When it happened, I go, this is historical. This is an historical event that's happening in our time. And I posted it. And it was very solemn. Pope in St. Peter's Square were walking up to a tent, to which he then gave a homily after the Gospel of Mark was read about being in the boat, the storm, and Jesus sitting and falling asleep. And the apostles said, Jesus, help us. Do you not care about us? And Jesus looked at them and said, do you not have faith? So Jesus looks at us today. In the resurrection, this Divine Mercy Sunday, where he came back not to condemn us. He didn't come back to say, you apostles, you all denied me. He didn't come back and say that. What was his words? The first words to his apostles: peace. Peace be with you. So today, as we continue on our liturgy, and no matter where we are in that upper room right now, wherever that is for you, in your belief, know that the Lord is coming into your heart, that locked heart of yours. He's there. He's there, and he's there saying to you, peace be with you. And as you turn to each other in this liturgy here today, we offer each other the sign of peace. Envision yourself there as if the person across from you is Christ. Because that's Christ working through each and every one of you. Working through your eyes, your mouth, your presence. When you turn to each other here today, look at each other with the eyes of Christ and say, peace be with you.